Welcome to the Midlife Pilot Podcast. We are glad you're with us. What is it like to become a pilot in your 40s and 50s? The challenges are unique for those of us in midlife, but so are the rewards. Hosts Ben, Brian, and Ted talk learning to fly, growing as pilots, and the joy of flying to destinations. The purpose of the podcast is not to teach, but to share knowledge and experiences of being a midlife pilot. Join the Midlife Pilot community and listen in every week. We are not CFIs or particularly intelligent, so if you want to learn how to fly, talk to anyone else other than the hosts of a podcast. Even this intro was too challenging for us, and we used a robot to do it. Okay, checklists are complete. Let's get the show started.
Hello and welcome to the Midlife Pilot Podcast, where we share the experiences and challenges of flying in midlife. Whether you're a seasoned pilot, training for a rating, or just thinking about getting your started in aviation, I like to think of the podcast as your aviation companion and your weekly dose of aviation inspiration. Tonight, we're going to be talking MOSAIC Part Deux. How was my French?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah, thank you. I've been practicing that. My name is Ben, and I am a pilot with an IFR rating and a commercial certificate, based in the metro Atlanta area, flying a 182, we like to call the Beast, and we'll hopefully be flying a Beechcraft Duchess here in a couple of weeks. Joining me tonight are my friends. First, a private pilot in Nashville, home of the Bachelorette Super Charlie. He flies a Cherokee 180 named Lucy. It's our creative genius. It's our friend on Music Row. His name is Brian. Good evening.
Good evening. I hesitate to say that it might become the boring tunnel Super Charlie, but I think that they're going to dig a tunnel between B&A and downtown to sort of conveyor belt bachelorettes to and from. So I guess maybe it's just an acceleration of the Bachelorette Super Charlie. But anyway, I'm super excited about the episode tonight and getting back into MOSAIC to talk about what's next. Ted, you did such an amazing job on the first touch of this as the news came out. We're not a topical podcast. We don't like to do that kind of thing. But in that case, it was just too relevant and too impacting to ignore. And so we turned you loose on it. And it was a fan favorite, a listener favorite. Everybody loved it. We all realized that this whole shenanigans of us having a podcast and not knowing what we're talking about, it can only go so far. You saved the day. And I'm super excited about really understanding now that we have an understanding what is next. So thanks again for making that episode happen. And if you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to that, whatever episode number it is. Pretty recent, 2 episodes ago or last, I don't know, recent.
Yeah, very recent. And so Brian has kind of done a quasi introduction, but for those of you who don't know, our friend Ted is a sport pilot extraordinaire. I've used that term a lot, but it really is true. He's based in Portland. He flies a flight design CTLS. We like to call it the Egg. Good evening, Sir Ted.
Hey, so glad to be here. Yeah. Speaking of the tunneling, I was trying to remember and find it. I'll put it in the show notes, but there's a comedic entry about a burrito tunnel that runs between San Francisco and Weehawken, New York. And it's one of those great like old internet lore type things. You know, it's like the burritos move fast enough that they stay warm in the tunnel. So yeah, kind of been on a
deep dive.
kick lately.
That's a deep cut. I appreciate that the city of Nashville is just trying to create scalability in their biggest economic boon. I mean, God bless them.
Well, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag too much here, but we're talking to ATC Scott about coming back on, B&A controller ATC Scott. And he did mention to me that while the footprint and the boundary of the Super Charlie itself obviously was already just recently expanded, that's not changing, but there have been some further changes to the scope of their responsibilities, I suppose I could say now, that will be very interesting to talk about, that does have to do with a wider range of airspace. So anyway, it's a constantly growing, changing environment, and we'll have ATC Scott on soon to learn more about it.
Yeah.
Nice.
I thought you were talking about a airspace tunnel when you were mentioning that. Because
I did too.
You made a mention of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the next thing is the bachelorette Sifra.
I've got 4 bachelorettes on board. Do I get to use the tunnel to get to B&A?
Yeah. What is it? What is the call sign you get to use at CareFlight? For
Compassion flight.
Yeah. So we need the version of that for this.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Very good. So not a whole lot going on since the last time we recorded an episode, but anything you guys want to bring up before we get into the belly scrubbing? Anything we need to cover?
I think we've got so much to do that I'm just going to bang through the belly scrub and we're just going to move to the next phase. And
the last one was 34 seconds.
Ted doesn't like this idea. I can already tell.
Yeah, let me just mention a couple of things that I saved that were kind of surreal moments for the flying recap.
Okay.
One was I checked in. I was on this center frequency. I was in the mountains and I needed to know if this MOA was open and I could barely hear her. And I just said, "Is the MOA open?" And I'm waiting for a response. I can barely hear it. And I said, "Okay, I'll get flight following with you later." And came out of the mountains and, 20 minutes later and I could hear her. So I set up flight following and I checked in and, a tail number and all that. She came up with my position and all that. And, a few minutes later, she said, "Flight 203 Tango, I have a message passed along from you from a pilot on another frequency," because she's broadcasting on multiple, says the tail number, "would like to say hi." And that is our friend, Sling Pilot Mark. You may know in the Portland area. And he was 200 miles away coming back from a triathlon and heard my tail number. And so he had the center controller just, pass along the hello. That was awesome. Just those what moments, right?
Speaking of moments, I want to ask you a question, Brian, a survey question. It's not really a survey, but of the 3 of us, who do you think would be most likely to appear on a Vast Aviation video first?
Oh gosh, that is. So what would get you on one of those videos? It would be either doing something completely dumb, an actual emergency, or having a really bad attitude. Those are pretty much the 3 things that are going to get you on.
There's some humorous stuff there.
I've got to say, out of the 3 of us, the one most likely to be on it is Lord Alpha Juliet.
For all of the reasons mentioned above.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for us 3, I think, I don't know. I'd
put you.
I think probably you, Ben, because you like to yuck it up with ATC, and then I have definitely done some things where I've asked weird questions or said weird things that have started some weird conversations, but that weird doesn't really get you on Vast Aviation. So yeah, probably you, Ben, because you're just kind of affable and friendly, and I can see somebody doing something really goofy on a frequency and them checking with you, who's just a more familial sounding voice, to sort of check them to see if they're crazy. You know what I mean? Like a scenario like that.
Funny that you mentioned that, because that exact thing happened, but not with me. It happened with our friend Ted. Ted has made an appearance on Vast Aviation. Yeah. Did you know that?
No.
Yes. We'll put the link in the show notes, but Ted was following up on a witty conversation between a pilot and a controller.
Between many pilots and a controller.
Actually,
there was
know this?
Yeah.
How did I not know this? Is this recent?
It just came out a couple of days ago. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't tell you guys know, and you don't tell me. What? That's like we're.
You say
I just
save
found
it
it
for the
today.
show. Yeah. Save it for the show. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
So
I feel like I'm out of the friend group.
Now, a little bit insider on that, which is I don't think Live ATC had that frequency, or I guess it was just one frequency. And so the audio is with no noise correction, and it's from my plane. So it has all the high pitched noises that my plane puts in audio tracks. So you'll hear that all the way through it. But
your plane sounds like a regular plane in a vertical dive.
Yeah, combined with all the electronic noise you could ever get from something. Yeah.
Well, that's
and
awesome.
what I was going to say, I'm sorry to step on you, Ryan, but the topic of conversation actually was more befitting of me, if you know my current situation. But yet Ted was thrown into it. So well done to make an appearance on VAS with and not being in a bad light.
And not being given a number to copy.
That's exactly right.
Well, everybody on this live stream is just, the numbers are just dipping right now because everybody's going to check that out right now.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. We ready to move on to the next thing?
Let's go, man.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay.
33 seconds is your goal.
I saw Nathan Ballard mention that he was asking for there was an over under for 33 seconds.
Yep.
All right. I don't know if I need to drink a water first or not, but here we go. 33 seconds is the record to beat for doing our housekeeping, aka belly scrub. All right, here we go. And start it. We're grateful for you making this the best pilot community we know of, a positive space where we share everything from training experiences, share personal minimums, tackle ownership challenges, review flight plans, and best of all, make new aviation friends. Connect with us, join Patreon community $1 a month, or do a one-time annual Patreon, 25 cents per episode, access exclusive content, including check ride debriefs, killing zone conversations, and more. 10% supports Freedom Aviation Network's anti-human trafficking efforts. Watch us live on YouTube, Mondays, 8 p.m. Eastern. Share your stories, midlifepilotpodcast@gmail.com. We read every message you might hear yours on the show. For everything Midlife Pilot Podcast, community feedback, merch, and more, visit midlifepilotpodcast.com.
34 seconds.
Yeah.
Really? And
seriously.
It wasn't as smooth as the last one because
No,
I
it
actually
wasn't.
nailed the last one.
We put the pressure on you.
No, that's
All right.
great. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's done. Next thing.
We appreciate it. Ted, do you want to get that? Or actually, Brian, we got a little bit of feedback from a Patreon survey. Or do you want me to hit that and give yourself a break after talking so fast?
Yeah, I'm out of breath.
Yeah, exactly.
This comes to from our listener or Patreon supporter, William S. He said, "Hello, midlife pilot community. Been listening in and ready to join. Solo at 16, license at 17, out of Papa Whiskey Kilo, which I believe is Pewaukee. Is that just out of Chicago, if I'm not mistaken?"
Yeah.
He said, "Then life happened, as it does for all of us. Fast forward 37 years later, and I just got signed off on my BFR after about 12 hours flying with the CFI. I'm so excited to be back to flying. Now what? The struggle is real."
So awesome. I'd like to have somebody on sometime to kind of pick their brain a little bit about that experience, because I mean, 37 years in between, and then what does that 12 hours really consist of? And what was there right away? What things were not? I'm just curious about having that much of a gulf between being an active pilot and then coming back to it. And how do you go about it? And how good do you feel about your own perception of your own skills versus the reality of your own skills and all that? I think it's an interesting thing.
Yeah. Somebody slid in the Discord today and so they've been 25 years out of it and are inspired and getting back into it now. And I have the same question for William as I do for the person in Discord, which is, what has changed? What is most different to you from what you remember? And
Right.
it could
37
easily
years.
be GPS, ADS-B, those types of things. It could also be like, I forgot what it was like. Banjo Pilot has the perfect comment here. I said, they told me I can't smoke in the plane anymore. They're not flying with Brian. So, yeah.
Or me. I've got ashtrays. They can certainly, as long as they're cigars.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So, very cool. So tonight we want to take another dip our toes back into the MOSAIC pool, if you will. Excuse me, Brian. I mean, when we came out with the first episode, Ted gave an outstanding overview and what it all means. But I guess the question now is, how is this going to impact specifically midlifers? Maybe those that are sitting on the couch now with an interest in learning to fly, to somebody who's got 5,000 hours and is looking to maybe slow down a little bit. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I have certainly questions around that that I'm ready for Ted to answer without, and to do it in a way that's psychic, where I don't really actually have to ask the question. He just answers them preemptively. But also there's that. And then I think one of the larger pieces for me that I have hanging out in my brain about this is whenever something new happens in any facet of technology or regulation or anything else, and whether it's aviation or any other area, it seems like it always starts with the feeling of a big promise, but then slowly there's some new reality that chips away at the dream that seems ignited in all of this, and it becomes something that's a facsimile of its intention as it relates to the real world. So to be a little bit more specific, I'm wondering about airplanes. A lot of people have said, well, manufacturers are now going to be incentivized to build aircraft that are much more affordable, that are higher performing aircraft and things around that. So is that real? Are we really having a moment like that where there's going to be this cataclysmic shift, or the opposite of whatever happened in the 80s when manufacturing had to stop due to laws and exposure to litigation opened up and all of that, and it kind of just shut everything down? I mean, imagine if that happened in the automotive industry, right?
Yeah.
Where all of a sudden just no cars are being produced by anybody for years. I mean, it wouldn't affect me at all, but it's like, so, I guess that's one of the things that I'm really curious about. So while we understand, and if you're not clear about what it means for you as a pilot or what it means for light sport aircraft, go back and listen to the previous episode. But Ted, tell us what you're going to tell us.
Well, this is an episode that's a lot more about kind of daydreaming, and, we were having a meeting, the three of us, and talking about it. And you noted that about a week ago that Ford was making a big announcement, and they wouldn't say what it was. It was the Model T announcement, and they were announcing.
Oh yeah, they were saying that to be clear, Ford had said we have something coming that's new that is going to be our Model T moment of this time.
Yeah, and it was affordably priced electric vehicles. So, which is great, a $30,000 car instead of a $80,000, electric Ford truck, sort of thing is kind of what they're going for. But to set the scene, the original Model T, Henry Ford said he wanted to build a car for the great multitudes. There were about 60,000 cars in 1908 when the Model T was created. By 1922, like 14 years later, almost half of cars were Model Ts. So there was a huge change. Now, they said there were 15 million built. There weren't 15 million in the US. There weren't even a fraction of that. But the point is that it really changed the game. And they went from being, I don't remember what it was, like $800 to $300 in that period of time. They went down in price. What happened? What if that happened in aviation? We started making this plane 10 years ago and now it's cheaper. Like, how wild is that? So, I don't think that we're going to get there, but what are the things that we all see that we'd like, or that seem to be constrained that could change here?
Well, I think you have to start with training aircraft.
Yeah.
And obviously there's electric aircraft that are getting very close, if not just there.
Yeah.
To be able to do that. And obviously the overhead for flight schools is so intense. So for them to be able to have electric planes to use for training be massive. While that's interesting, what I'm really hoping for is that there is essentially, if you think about it, most of us are flying moderately capable old general aviation aircraft, or effectively antiques, but a Cherokee 180 or a little bit, more powerful 182, all 172s, whatever. I'm really interested to see what things can be built perhaps at scale, because more people are allowed to fly and there's less, the ability for certificated aircraft to be able to be now building the same aircraft, not certificated, essentially. Is that really true? I mean, right? Like isn't that what they're saying, Ted?
Yeah. I mean, what planes have been built in the last 10, 15, 20 years?
Yeah. So like, could there be an Archer that comes out or whatever?
Well, what have we seen in the last 20 years? We've seen Cirrus and we've seen more 172s, which is a 70-year-old design. So, Cirrus roughly is the only thing that's new. Lots of LSAs in very small numbers. But what's the main part of the market that's blown up in the last 20 years? Experimental. There are thousands of experimentals per year. And there's dozens of 172s per year. And it's a huge difference on what's making it to the market. So to read what Mr. Wendell Geek said, he said, part of the reason I think manufacturers are going to build cheaper airplanes is that LSA is not regulated nearly as tightly as normal category airplanes. And that's why this experimental world has really taken off. It's either been, to simplify, build in your garage or buy a crazy expensive 172. You have to be on a waiting list for 2 years and is the same as the one that came out 70 years ago, except for the avionics. So this is finding a middle ground in there. And,
I apologize for saying certificated. I meant to say certified aircraft.
Oh, geez,
and
I hate all those terms. Yeah.
Yeah. But I suppose I'm a skeptic. Whenever something comes up that seems possible to be cheaper and more affordable and more doable for people, then some way will be found. They still want their margins, or I don't know. It's who's going to step up and just go, we can give you a heck of an airplane at a fraction of the cost because of the reasons that Mark was just talking about.
So I think there's going to be ebbs and flows with this, in my opinion. I agree that the experimental market is going to go through the roof, but they face this same or maybe even more constraints in the production than Textron does, making 172s and 152 or 182s, whatever. They can only build so many kits for people to go out there to build themselves. I do think the buy-in cost is definitely going to be cheaper, but the demand is, now that they've opened up the floodgates, and I'm welcoming these floodgates to be open. I'm not being critical of it, but there's going to be a lot more people wanting to get their pilot's license. So, I do believe that.
To clarify, the reason I talk about the experimental market doing really well is that now all these experimental manufacturers can fully build planes. So instead of them building quick build kits or build assist or, really getting over this gray line, or it's, this sketchy line of what is 51%, as one manufacturer does, you can just build them all from the factory.
I agree with that, but they can't build it. They can't do the Henry Ford and start pumping out lots of airplanes. I'm afraid, here's my overall picture. There's going to be a ton of pilots in the next 2 to 3 years flying under a sport pilot or not. But I think the barrier to entry has been lowered, and I think that's a great thing. But the problem is the number of airplanes they're going to be able to fly and or buy. That's, to me, I think it's still going to be inflated for a while until we start getting some heavy manufacturing out of the experimental market, because there's no question servicing, avionics, maintenance, all of it, new engine options, Rotax, and more that are coming out. They're built to last longer. The operating costs are going to be coming down. It's still just going to invite more and more people. And I'm just fearful of the demand, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I guess I don't look at it from the demand side of it, that it's like all of a sudden there's going to be 3 times as many pilots training. It's like, I don't know. I don't see that's going to change very much. we're out of the post-COVID peak where people like Brian and I trained, and the schools are crazy busy. And now they're busy, but they're not crazy busy like that anymore.
But you don't think there's people that have been sitting on the sideline saying, I know I can't get a medical, but
there's some for sure. I just don't think that it's going to, be a light switch. I think it's going to be like a 10% change, that sort of thing. But for me, what I see is how we can, how the entire aircraft side of the market can get bigger. And no matter what happens to the number of pilots coming in or the number of pilots that continue flying who wouldn't have otherwise, supply and demand is always going to be a problem. And who knows what that's going to do, right? I don't think that it's going to cause prices of four-seaters to blow up. There just aren't that many sport pilots to change that demand. The only thing that really affects is that my two-seater goes down in price. So, which I knew 2 years ago when I bought it. It's kind of built into this whole thing. But there are some other changes in there. This is not going to be, a new one rolls off the line every 2 minutes or something like that. But how amazing is that to consider that there might be 10 new ones per month from a manufacturer? 10 per month is wild. Like, those are numbers that we haven't seen outside of Cirrus, Sling, Cub Crafters, right? Like, Cub Crafters, I think, builds one every 30 hours, or tries to. So even small improvements in numbers is huge. Not blasting these things out, at that same speed. But yeah, that's what I see. And the other thing that I see, and people always get confused and think that I've got an experimental, and it's like, well, I can actually, I'm ignoring Zach here. I can convert my plane to experimental, and so maybe that's part of why people think it is experimental. But the other thing is, a lot of the compliance is actually closer to experimental. So if I was to put a G3X in mine, I don't have to put the certified version in. So you go from a $30,000 10-inch panel to a $10,000 10-inch panel. Those are like wild differences. I was literally today voting in MOSAIC on standards for propellers and constant speed props and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things they added in there was, it was like, okay, well, it has to meet these standards or already be certified to meet all of the existing standards. And the point is that it's like the regulatory hurdles to jump. There's multiples that you can take. You can take the existing process that gets a propeller to the market, or you can use the light sport rules to get it out that has a lot of testing in it as well. So that's is what I'm hoping is gonna make a lot of difference. And again, part of it is increasing that supply. Part of it is getting rid of, that $30,000 to $10,000 difference of a G3X, right? Like that makes a huge difference in a plane.
It does. I want to hit a comment from the Banjo pilot who, you can hear him on our previous podcast, but he mentions it'll put the certified manufacturers into a market with more competition. It has to be positive on the pricing side of that as well. I couldn't agree with that more. It's again, my wife and I are looking at our expenses and stuff as we do every so often, and the operating cost of my airplane has done nothing but go up every year because it's got an older engine and it's just going to climb and climb. I need a new audio panel. I need new this. I need new that. Well, if mine was experimental, I would be looking at a price that was a third of what I'm going to pay, at least, if not more than a bigger reduction than that. So I am hopeful that these experimental guys that can now continue the production all the way through and start delivering airplanes is going to maybe put a pressure on the pricing of the certified market.
Yeah.
Do you think that there will be a point in the arc of change of all this over whatever amount of time that it is, where once there is enough new things happening that are approachable enough for people, that it will expedite the languishing of a lot of antique aircraft, because the burden to getting them up to a particular standard is going to be so much more prohibitive?
Making it worse for old planes by having new planes around. Very likely.
You know,
Right.
where it's,
I mean,
it's
that
like,
makes
why
sense.
would I spend 5x, you know, 3, 4, 5x to keep this, whatever, clapped out 182 together or whatever, when, I can, for just what I'd be using to upgrade the avionics in this thing and do a few other things I need to do and drop an engine in it, I could actually go get a completely new plane or something.
Sling.
Well,
I gotta buy a new sling.
Well, I was thinking of sling as well. Yeah. Think about these schools that are keeping older fleets running and are putting, I know multiple schools that put 2,000 hours a year on one plane, right? They can go out and buy a plane now, and you could buy a light sport until now, right? Like that was never a limitation, but they're a little on the fragile side. So, I mean, Sling Pilot Academy uses them. Thrust Flight used to use sport cruisers. But now that they can be built a little bigger, they're more durable planes. And so maybe that's what really helps, at least at first, right? Is these schools can go out and they don't have to buy planes from guys that have expired medicals and these things haven't flown for 10 years and they're getting them running again. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's the difference. Of course, there's more money up front, but if you're flying 2,000 hours a year, it's easy to do that math. Yeah.
I'm still thinking about that Spirit SE2 airplane. I just think the one that burns 2 gallons of fuel, 100 miles an hour, open cockpit. I mean, it's fine. That'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
One seater. Great. Less people to, stare a cockpit all the time. That's great.
Yeah.
No, there's so much just, I think, innovation and real change that is just right. I feel like things are just kind of bubbling up, and there's been a lot of things limited. And I'm just hoping that this is a bit of a floodgate opening to a lot of new things. We've talked a lot about the aircraft side of it. Ted, I want to hear some of your thoughts about the future from the pilot side. Because it's really easy just to go, okay, well, now you don't have to have a medical and you can do the thing, whatever. Like, that's really glossing over a lot. So talk to us about that a little bit.
Well, because there are more privileges, because a sport pilot can fly bigger planes, it makes it, if you were a school, it makes it a lot easier to say, we're going to put everyone through sport pilot. Some of those people are going to go back and get their medical. I don't think that's really how it's going to work. The career-oriented ones are going to require medical up front. But I think a lot of the types of schools that I assume you guys walked into and that I walked into, that'd be the first question to ask is, are you going for a career or not? And even if your answer is, well, maybe in the future, well, you could still start as a sport pilot. There's nothing stopping that. And it's just that much less that's going to get in the way, which helps them out. So I think that, I think that's the real benefit, is especially to schools and especially to people that aren't sure if their medical would pass or not, or don't even know, it's like, I know deep on all the antidepressant protocols and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I'm not the normal person, obviously. So people that know they've had something in their past, whether it's a stent in your heart or 2 antidepressants or so many things that could hold you back.
Kidney stone,
ADHD, all this.
A stent in your heart or a stent in Jamaica.
Yeah.
There's your show title.
Yeah. So yeah.
A stent on tour with the Grateful Dead.
So Zach said, everyone forgets about recreational pilots. Does MOSAIC affect them also? handfuls of people anxiously waiting across America.
Yeah.
There are like 75 recreational pilots. I kid you not, 75. Sometimes there'll be like 6 per year that go through a check ride, but usually like 4 of those 6 fail. So I wish that it didn't even exist. It's a distraction.
Not the people, the classification.
Exactly. Yes.
Ted loves everybody, just saying it for the record.
Yeah. So,
turns out they're all listeners.
I was hanging out with Chuck at Oshkosh, and he said it was challenging to find a school near me that had an LSA. Now flight schools can use the 172s they already have to offer a sport pilot. And there's, part of this is there's going to be such a lag in schools understanding what the options are here. My whole flying life as a sport pilot has been explaining what it is to people, including my DPE. So I kid you not.
Or the woman from the FAA that didn't understand that basic med is not something you can just go get before having a third class.
She was riding a tram in the wrong direction. That just says it all. So, so yeah, both sides of those are good, right? But I think what we really talked about that we wanted to kind of talk about in this episode was, how does this help a pilot who, our friends here that have the license and they're renting planes and they have ancient 6-packs on, what are your choices? Is there anything that this is going to do to improve that world?
I was just thinking we all have ancient 6-packs, really, if you think about it.
It's ancient 6-pack another way of saying that you're kind of got a dad bod.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
right.
I was just trying not to go there. And let me drink some more of this White Claw.
But the whole thing is, correct me if I'm wrong, Ted, we are now faced with, it meant something different before MOSAIC to be a private pilot that is trying to think ahead as we are all in midlife. Our health is not getting any better, generally speaking. Zach's comment here,
yep.
Scenario, years from now, I'm older and confident that I won't pass another medical. Can I go to the FAA and request to quote unquote downgrade my PPL to a sport? Can you take a check ride and be dual private sport, et cetera? So that brings up so many questions. Do you need to be really smart about how you anticipate that timing? Because if you are denied a medical, then you cannot go get a sport.
What is your understanding about private to sport?
Me?
Sure.
My understanding is that I can call Ted at any time if I don't understand anything about it. And then otherwise I don't have to think about it. But I guess if I'm trying to think about what it means for me personally in any future, if I'm not ever in a position where, because if I'm not in a position where I've decided I'm definitely never going to fly professionally in any way, and that's just off the table, let's just say, it's down the road here. I am on basic med now, really just for reasons of lack of hassle, more than anything else, because it doesn't exclude me from anything that I'm trying to do. Those requirements are actually, I think, quite generous.
Yep.
And it's annoying to have to take a medical so often. I would rather do it way less often. And then, I really like flying. I'd like to make sure I can keep flying. And it makes me nervous, just like it does everybody, to even be thinking about continuing my third class medical, because as soon as something goes sideways, then you are marked with an X, and then that's it. So I feel like I'm kind of hiding out a little. I don't have any health problems that I'm worried about, but I just know that, I'm not going to be a million times healthier in 20 years or something. So I'm just trying to figure out, is there a logical jumping off point that you should be anticipating? And as sport pilot privileges continue to be sort of kind of awesome and whatever, I can still fly the plane that I fly in, right? I don't have to, it's not a culture change or a aircraft change or anything. Is that something, when do you start thinking about that?
Yeah. Well, from a regulatory standpoint, do either how you fly as a sport pilot, as a private pilot.
You just say you're operating as a sport pilot.
Exactly. That's the key. So you don't have to take a check ride. You don't talk to the FAA. You wave a magic wand.
Oh, you just disappear.
You can exercise sport pilot privileges today, even with a medical.
That makes sense. Okay,
I don't even know with a medical why you would, but yes, the point is let your basic med expire. Don't get them denied. You are now a sport pilot, or you are a private pilot exercising sport pilot privileges.
Okay,
as they say.
Kind of like my dad used to always say, "Hey, Brian, do you want me to make you a milkshake?" And I'd say, "Yeah." He'd go, "Poof, you're a milkshake."
It reminds me of the episode from The Office when he walks to the office and he goes, "I declare bankruptcy. I declare I'm a sport pilot."
Yes.
Okay, well that's enlightening because it's weird. That's a cognitive break for me because I know that you can inherently operate at a lower quote unquote whatever set of privileges, but I never thought about it from the sense of, oh well, you can just do that now.
Yeah.
You don't have to send a letter to somebody and be like, I'd like to resign.
Yes.
Yeah.
We had a phone a friend happen after the MOSAIC episode with someone saying, one of our people that you guys know, giving their age at one end of the midlife age range, it said, if I became a sport pilot, could I fly my plane? And they told me what their plane was. That's the question that everybody has. At some point, we're all going to get to continuing your medical being risky, and you still have health. You may not. You still have to self-evaluate that you're fit to fly. Right? That doesn't ever go away. But you get to a point where you say, "What's the risk of renewing my medical versus flying as a sport pilot?" So but yeah, it's great because all you do is just wave the magic wand. Now you do have to have a driver's license, so don't mess that up too much. Also, don't drive to the airport, stop at the coffee shop that's right next to the airport, go to pay for it, and realize you don't have your wallet.
Mm-hmm.
Tap to pay for the coffee was fine. I had to drive all the way back home to get my driver's license because legally I can't fly without my driver's license.
Yeah,
which is different for me.
So Adam's question: can a private pilot exercise sport pilot privileges at night? There's a few other fewer privileges, right?
Yeah. So let's talk about what the downgrade from basic med to sport is. And this isn't accurate. This isn't fully accurate, but roughly speaking, if you drop your medical and your basic med, you cannot fly at night. You must have a basic med to fly at night. Now, I don't know why you'd exercise a sport if you have basic med, but you have to have that to fly at night. Also, you cannot fly instrument. So no IFR, IMC flying as a sport pilot. You're also limited to 2 seats in use. So you can fly a 4-seater, you can only have 1 passenger. Also, you cannot have a second pilot that you declare is your co-pilot and have a third person sitting in the back. They made sure to imply that is not allowed. One of our people in this crowd had that suggestion, and once I read deeper into it, I was like, oh, they covered that already. Yeah,
you'd only be and that would also prohibit you from flying anything that has a required crew.
Yeah. I believe so. That would be interesting. If
that's what I'm wondering. It's like if it is a.
I mean, honestly, you're not going to have a 2 pilot certified airplane that's going to fit the category for a sport pilot.
I mean, 59 knots clean. Like
I think we just
King Air can.
Yeah.
You can't have multi. But what about a Cessna 208?
That's a single pilot certified.
Is the 208? I thought the 208 was not, and the 408 was. But okay,
I think it is.
Some King Airs, but their speed's a little high. Well, but maybe this is what you find out. Sling is going to hear this podcast and go, guys, I've got an idea.
We're going to increase the amount of people that sport pilot can take by having a 2 pilots certified high wing that require 2 sport pilots to fly it.
Isn't there some part of you just feels like as much of wrangling as all this is, at some point in 15, 20 years, they're just going to go, whoever wants to fly, just go ahead and do it.
Well,
we don't care anymore.
So I do have a serious question, and it's kind of around that. Do you think, and this goes to both of you, y'all have been in aviation long enough. Do you think we will see reforms to the medical side of this in the next 10 years in a similar fashion that they've overhauled the sport pilot piece?
So there have been some changes in the last year. Last summer actually was kind of positive for about every month. They were adding a medication that was allowed and doing that type of thing. And it was kind of amazing. The NTSB came out with I'll put this in the notes. It's like a recommendation of like 24 things that the FAA needs to take care of for pilot mental health. And it's things related to getting your medical and keeping your medical that because the FAA is kind of based in 1950, they kind of have wrong. And, they won't necessarily follow all that, but the point that that's out there and that FAA has to address that is interesting. The other thing that happened, and I'll mention this one, is a couple months ago, there was a pilot or a prospective pilot who was on a disallowed antidepressant, and FAA said, we don't allow that one because it can cause drowsiness. The guy's like, I've been taking it for 5 years. I have no drowsiness and I can prove it. And the FAA came back and said, yeah, we don't allow that medicine. So it went to a court case and the judge said, no, FAA, you're wrong. That is arbitrary and capricious, their words, to not allow it because you said you can take an antidepressant as long as it didn't cause drowsiness. He proved it doesn't cause drowsiness in him. And then you said no. I'm optimistic that that'll cause a change. Those types of things are how pressure is put on the FAA. And that helps me out, but it helps out a lot of people. The biggest one obviously is people our age, and especially younger than us, that are diagnosed ADHD. And the amount of effort to pass a medical with that is insane. And
the administrative overhead is not even sustainable for an organization that is being sort of hamstrung.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's why they remember they changed the registration time frame.
Yeah. From 1 year to 3.
Yeah. Or whatever,
Yeah.
They drastically, and there's it was just so clear that it was just an administrative overhead measure to try to temper that. It was a release valve for just administrative work. Is really all it was, which I think that in the end, as the biases around mental health and the awareness and the sheer, breadth of all of that, there's just been a long-standing change over the course of our lifetimes and how all of that is looked at, how it's addressed, how it's categorized.
Yep.
All of that. And it's just, the bureaucracies are slow to adapt, but when you're a bureaucracy that is operating from a fear of liability standpoint that is wild,
right,
and understandably, then you just have to be hard correcting, and that's just it's gonna have to ease up, and it's not gonna be based in some moral awakening or some sort of, it's not going to be based in it's not going to happen because of some sort of common good. Yeah. It's not
going to be altruistic.
Yeah.
Here's the reason. Here's your perfect example.
We're tired of dealing with this.
Yeah. One Dull Geek says they also changed the CFI certificate to not include an expiration date so that the FAA didn't have to keep printing plastic cards.
Yeah.
And it's so weird because, by the way, guys, I love the FAA. Don't you guys love the FAA?
I absolutely love the FAA.
And I've had nothing but good experiences with the FAA.
It's just, you know what I mean? I just feel bad for them. They're trying so hard. So,
from the medical standpoint, my aero glass in the background is going interesting. The phrase about IBM used to be, because buying IBM mainframes was expensive, but it was nobody got fired for buying an IBM. The point was you got fired for buying the off-brand that wasn't compatible. The same thing's true with FAA medicals, right? You're not getting fired from the FAA. You're not getting in trouble if you deny too many pilots, you get in trouble for the one that you allow that you shouldn't have allowed.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Why would they want to, this isn't the right phrase, but why would they want to lower their standards? There's no upside for them. So
That's right.
that's the difference that I see, and the incentive that they have versus our incentive.
There's no incentive to basically put it, but they are our friends. They're listening. We love you guys.
We're just so glad they're listening. It means a lot.
There's going to be a ramp check at John Toon, at McCollum, at Troutdale.
Oh man, yeah.
So no, it's just been a great discussion. I'm glad that we had an opportunity to dive deeper on this. And for all of those that are in the chat that have hung around for this double header, yes, I said it. We did a double header tonight. We appreciate you. I want to remind everybody, leave us a 5-star review. It will get read on the air.
Please.
As long as it's, I'm not going to say it has to be G-rated, but let's keep it PG-13.
You can leave a 5-star review and just completely trash this podcast. It's fine.
We're still going to read it. The 5 stars is what we really care about. But
and if you have R-rated feedback, you can still send it in. We'll enjoy it. We will not read it on the air. Yeah.
You can join us on Monday nights, typically at 8 p.m. YouTube.com/@MidlifePilotPodcast. So give us a follow, guys. Is there anything else on your mind that we should cover here?
No, just thanks again, Ted, for being our guiding light through the mosaic of confusion.
Yeah, and write in with questions and ideas. I'd like to hear people's theories on how the aviation market may change because of this. So yeah.
Very good. I love it that right here at the end, our friend One Dull Geek has to pour a little salt on the wound and let me know that the Brewers have swept the Braves. You know what? Kick a man while he's down. Go for it. Exactly. Thank you, Zach. As if sweeping the Braves is a big accomplishment this season. All right. So tonight's wisdom, we're going to step outside of the aviation fold and kind of go back old school. A clear conscience is often a sign of a really bad memory. Signing off, episode 142 of the Midlife Pilot Podcast. Goodbye, everybody.